Hello and welcome to DDOCast, episode 325, recorded on Saturday, February 22nd. I'm your host, Patrick. I'm flying solo this week, hence the recorded show. This week's screenshot comes from Elanius Song Spinner, admiring a view of the busy marketplace in the 160th DDO screenshot of the week. Nice little perch. We'd like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can watch us through Google Plus Hangouts, YouTube, or from our website at DDOcast.com. DDOcast is hosted by Cyber Ears, the awesome podcast hosting network. Shows are usually available within a few days of recording, and the next show will probably be on March 1st in the morning. That's a Saturday. You can stay updated by following us on our social media pages, or the best place is you can go to our website, www.DDOcast.com, and you can check out our calendar. It's in the menu bar on the top. I keep that fairly up to date. So you can kind of get an idea when the shows are going to be and what's going to be going on the shows. On the podcast this week, we have game news, update 21 news, and a walkthrough of I Dream of Jeets. Should be a lot of fun. We'll start with the game news. There was an update on the Thunderforge weapons from Dr. Octothorpe. I said, once again, thanks for all your feedback. We're reading, digesting, and discussing it now. One big correction, he forgot to list commendations of valor to the ingredient list. The numbers required will not be exorbitant. You'll spend under 1,000 total for Tier 3 Thunderforge items. And just for the record, I think most players might disagree with whether or not that's an exorbitant amount given the current drop rates. It says that they will also be dropping additional commendations in the Shadow Dracolich raid chest, larger numbers on hard and elite, and there was much rejoicing other than the fact that it's only one chest in the game. So I'll see if I can wrangle some answers to the clarification questions posted here the next day or so. The big one you can answer now, the augment slots at Tier 2 are purchased. These are the ones that only require Thunderholm ingots. They initially had purple and orange slots here, but swapped orange to a free option at the base tier, so that the named orange augment raid item doesn't require a sacrifice to be used. But he agrees that a red and a purple slot don't make a lot of sense. Either they'll charge much less for the red, get rid of it, or turn it into a yellow or a green. Steel Star wrote that the effect Exceptional Sneak Attack on Live grants an insight bonus and says as much in the subscription and has for quite some time. In Update 21, the name of Exceptional Sneak Attack effect will change to Insightful Sneak Attack to make the name match the actual effect. The functionality of these effects has not changed. Barguila wrote that they are delaying the Divine Crusader and related Divine Sphere changes past the launch of Update 21 to put more time into those changes. Lemania went up for round 4 this week. There were some loot changes that didn't make it to the live build for that. However, there was a feature that allowed you to purchase and immediately consume a Cerberus Spirit Cake with Astral Shards when you die. You can now just click on the revive button that appears near the quest objective panel when you die. Naturally, this feature is not usable in raids. So that's pretty cool that it cuts out a lot of the middle steps. If you die and you need to get a cake to res yourself, you don't have to open the store, buy it, have it appear in your inventory, and then use it. You can just, boom, done. They also set the XP for the raids, and I thought that was kind of an interesting note that they added that the Shadow Dragon raid apparently spawns a red-named Wraith when you die. So try not to die, apparently. They brought Lemania down and back up for round 5 as well. There wasn't a whole lot of changes, mostly some enhancement fixes, but we'll link the current release notes so you can go take a look at those. There was a dev diary for Thunderholm, kind of explaining what's going on there, kind of their design intent. I'm not going to read all of it, but I picked out some fun little stuff. They originally planned on 10 floors with 10 different themes. That got condensed down to 10 themes, but only on 7 floors. They say it's probably the largest indoor adventure area in DDO. To go with the wide variety of environments, they also added a variety of monsters. Some were pretty obvious choices, but they added, new to the game, are some dwarf skeleton monsters, which would be pretty cool, complete with configurable facial hair. I don't know why skeletons have facial hair, but apparently they do. They created new behaviors for some of these undead. The skeletal battle ragers, these fearsome berserkers will charge at you at great speed, and then inflict grievous bodily harm with their bare hands and spiked armor. So look out there. They also created a new monster, the Helmed Horror, classic Forgotten Realms creature. so that'll be kind of fun. They can fly, among other things. That'll be kind of exciting. They also mentioned that the Nether Beast and some of their associated monster friends will make appearances. And we're also going to encounter the Cult of the Dragon for the first time in DDO. Their emissary has some special tricks of her own, so be on lookout for that. There are some rares that they're gonna kind of leave us the surprises for us to discover. But they do say that one of the rares is an old friend. They knew had to be in there as soon as they found out they were doing Helmed Horrors. There's also a new puzzle type. There aren't any floor puzzles in the Forgotten Realms. That's because they wanted to introduce a new puzzle type just for the realms. The mirror and beam puzzles that you'll first encounter in Thunderholm. The ones in the adventure area are meant as an introduction to the system, so have fun experimenting them. Just don't stand in the beams. And that came from Knockback. We're very appreciative of that. It's a good read. Some very pretty pictures as well. There was some news on bugs. Major Mal came in and said, "Hey folks, it's been a while. He's been cleaning up from the last year, getting set up for the next, and came across a list of bugs that came directly out of the forum. I had them marked as the bugs that annoy players, and he's now decided to share with us the list of what we fixed and the community thought at the time were the worst bugs in the game. Always an interesting thing to look back. Guess some people were pretty annoyed with Madstone. He'd like to continue now a tradition with us fine folks and the not-so-fine folks by telling us your most hated bug, lag, ladders, loot, or launcher, whatever it may be. So you can pop in the forum that we'll link, and you can do that there. He also mentioned that Sox won the World Series, and the Pats, with the worst team they've had since 2006, made the AFC Championship game, and Peyton still stinks. And us from Seattle say, you're welcome. Vargwil came in and mentioned that with thrown weapons, they recently found a pervasive issue that broadly affected thrown weapons, preventing some abilities from working with them. They found that and they fixed it. This might coincidentally fix a number of other problems with thrown weapons with Update 21. They'll have to look into more detail for some of the other issues that people were asking about. If there are abilities that generally don't work at all or don't work in specific instances, please feel free to bug them and keep bugging them to make sure we properly verify and track the issues. There's also the problem that death auras going off between zones. It should be fixed along with a host of other things that turn off or reset when porting within quest instances. If something turns off or resets after Update 21 hits, when you zone between different areas of a quest, please bug them. They want to know about that stuff. That should include things like the healing aura, your epic destiny moments, all those kind of counters. Death auras, that stuff shouldn't be turning on when you kind of flip sides of say in the mirror darkly, or you go through different doors and all that stuff. Everything should continue to work after Update 21. There's a question about poison traps and damage. This one's been on the radar for a while and is something we intend to correct. There's a bug that poison traps and drow poison attacks do untyped damage. They should be doing poison damage, including a form of poison damage that can cause damage to those with poison mitigation, Warforged for example. However, being a Warforged or having another form of poison mitigation should offer a benefit in preventing poison-related stat damage. They'll add this to the known issues list. Bonus days for the weekend, we get plus 15% guild renown. And then the store sales, these all run through next Thursday, the 27th, I believe. Sales are, you can get 20% off of adventure packs, 20% off of quest XP elixirs. So if you're looking to pick up some adventure packs, it's a good time to do it. The freebie for the week is a small Jewel of Fortune. The code is JOFS4. You can get one per account. The Chronicle, the 81st Chronicle, Emily brings her character Tharsius Itzidi to life with some great art, and it was some very fine art, so you can go look at that. Ekrick is doing his hide-and-seek event. That's today, so if you don't listen to this right after it gets posted, assuming that I get it posted quickly, you will kind of miss out on that, but that's today. The 9 Drawn Swords are a small Sarlona-based guild that is already rank 86 and aiming to hit 100. All races, classes, builds are welcome. The guild primarily plays in evening in the Eastern Time. The comment for the week is, what classic pen and paper D&D module is your favorite? And I have to confess that my groups, we never really played modules. We pretty much always made our own, particularly myself. Mostly because I never went and spent the money on getting a lot of books. I ended up with a lot of books that were kind of supplemental to the rules, but I never really had modules. Although I did kind of page through one at one point, just because I was looking for a map. I just kind of borrowed a map. I didn't really borrow the module and a few ideas from it, but I never really played modules, so I don't really have a great answer for that. DDOCast got a shout out for our inventory management episode 324 last week. We appreciate that. DDO Gamer is building a halfling tank. It's a heroic build. I don't know if you really kind of flesh it out for epic levels, but it's a 17 wizard, 3 rogue, which is kind of an interesting build. You can look at that if you're looking for kind of a melee wizard, which eventually I'm hoping to talk about on the show. But there's a nice little build, and he reported that it worked out pretty good for him in terms of self-healing, although it didn't look like he was Pale Master, which was kind of interesting. I didn't think the numbers would really hold up in epic levels, but for heroic levels, it seemed to be working pretty well. Even Note ponders what her characters might look like as Olympians in a new blog series. You can go check that out. What it is basically is it looks at how her characters would compete in the Winter Games, so which characters would play in which different events. Kind of an interesting read. They updated the General Reincarnation Guide, so you can check that out for some overview and some tips. They also wanted folks to know that the DDO store offers +3 UMD skill tomes. Upgrade tomes are available now as well. I think it's a +1 increase of where they were. They're also reminding us that they are streaming live DDO gameplay on Twitch, although they didn't have any this week. Some kind of featured stuff from the players outside of the Chronicles. On the forums, there's an Explorer Area improvement discussion on how to make Explorer Areas a better, kind of a better investment for players. There's some interesting ideas in there. One particular individual whose name I'm not even going to try and pronounce was talking about reducing the amount of needed slaying for Slayer XPs. Basically, the jumps are too far, is what he's saying. Because what happens is, initially they're not too big, but eventually you start going from 750 to 1,500 to 3,000. So you start getting really large jumps, and it becomes not as cost effective. But there's a discussion going there that we'll link to the forum, in our show notes, so you can kind of check that out and be involved in that conversation. The High Lords of Sarlona are hosting newbie-friendly raids. Looks like they're doing them mostly on Saturdays. They're doing Vision of Destruction and Hound tonight. Again, if you're pretty quick after I post this, you might be able to join in on that. But you can probably check out the Sarlona forum page for more details. Looks like they're going to be doing a couple of these in the near future. So far, they've done the Shroud last week, and they're doing, as I said, Vision of Destruction and Hound this Saturday. So it looks like they'll be doing Saturday evenings. You can kind of watch the Sarlona forums for that. The Lord of Antics in a blog post made it a rather interesting homebrew race based on pugs. Yes, the dog pugs. Kind of an interesting little thing if you want to look at it, kind of see what goes into making a custom race, if you like. And then Kiri on the Order of Syncletica was taking on the Army of Drome in the first Lord Mark's chain, continuing the stealthy approach. Looked like it had pretty good success with that. And so with that, we'll move into the quote roundtable for the week. This is going to be a walkthrough of the quest I Dream of Jeets. Please enjoy. Hello, my name is Shamgar. I'll be your guide for the quest I Dream of Jeets. This is a quest in the first Inspired Quarter section. It is actually a prerequisite of the quest The Mindsunder. And to run this quest, you actually need to run the quest Finding the Path. It's a 3-quest chain. There's 2 more quests in the Inspired Quarter, but you don't need to run them before you do this quest. But you do need to run them for the discs that you will need at the end of Mindsunder to get the final chest. This quest is inside Jeet's mind. It's a dream, so there's kind of some fun little things about it. As you look around, you can actually see that there's a boat on its side. And what you actually see is, if you're familiar with the character Jeets from Korthos Island, you'll notice a few things about his character in this that's kind of fun. He's there in front of us. The first thing we need to do is kill these little dream spiders. So we'll go ahead and do that. You'll notice that this first little area is basically a little plus sign. There's the area that we zoned in from. And then there's also mirrors at either end. Those mirrors will spawn once all these spiders are gone. And due to a bug, currently the mirrors actually don't show anything. But we'll go through them. This is the commonly known as the treasure or coins, as indicated by the coins on the ground. This is the spa or mist, indicated by the steam coming from the ground. And over here is the tavern, or bottles, as some people like to call it. And what happens is when you walk into the mirror, you'll be transported. Now, the mirrors have two sides, so there are actually 6 doors here. Behind the spa side is a shrine, which we will use later. Behind the bottles and or tavern and the coins or treasure side is a mini boss with a chest. Now the trick here is that to get into those to fight those mini bosses and get those chests, you have to get a key for each one. Now the backside of treasure key is actually in the tavern, and the backside of the tavern key is in treasure. So there's a little bit of a trick there. And actually, what we're going to do here is we're going to go do my preferred order, and we're going to go into the front side of the tavern first. Now, when you're going into the mirrors, sometimes it'll transport you to the wrong one, so it's best if you just kind of inch your way forward into the actual mirror. That way you'll end up on the correct side, the one that you want to be on. Just for some giggles, I'm going to summon a little fire elemental here to give me a hand. Now, mostly what we're going to fight is, there's not a wide variety of monsters here, but we're going to fight a lot of those little dream spiders we saw before. And in fact, this drunkard here, once we destroy this bottle, is going to turn himself and several others into some of those dream crawler spiders. We'll go ahead and dispatch them. Now we're also going to fight some ghosty guys. They'll be incorporeal, and they'll be kind of elemental themed. So if you hit them with the elemental that they are, they'll heal from it. But if you hit them with their opposing element, they'll take extra damage. And then they'll be resistant to the other 2. So through this door, here are, there they are. They're called Dream Scourges. 2 of these are acid, and one is cold. The one that's blue is the cold one. The ones that are green are acid. You can see if I hit him with an acid bolt, that he's actually going to heal from that. They are incorporeal, but they are not undead. You could actually vorpal them, if I'm not mistaken. In that little box there's a blue key. We're going to need that. We need to break all these barrels. This is the door that the blue key opens. However, we don't want to do that quite yet. Once you finish the side, the mirror shatters and goes away. But we don't want to do that until we've done the back side, but we need to go to the other tavern, the other side first. Through this door here, which you either need to knock or pick, is the key that we're actually looking for right now. This is the key for the back side of the treasure room. Once we pick it up, we're going to make some spiders here a little unhappy. Go ahead and kill these guys. Alright, now, the only way out of here is to take a dimension door. So, if you don't have someone with dimension door, you can only get one of the extra chests. So you have to pick which one you want. There's nothing special about either one. Pretty much you're going to want to base it off of which boss you want to fight. Now, considering that, I would recommend killing the one behind the tavern, in which case you would go to the treasure side first and get that key. However, since I have Dimension Door, I will do both. So we'll go to the back side of the treasure room, again inching forward. And here's the door. Now, this guy is, he will look like a rust monster, but he won't actually break your equipment. It's called a greed monster, appropriately treasure themed. He does hit pretty hard though, so you want to be aware of that. And I am running this on normal, so he's not going to hit too hard. But on Elite, he does pack a punch, so melee be warned. That's the first optional chest. We'll just walk through the mirror, and that'll take us back. Now, those back rooms, you can always exit through the mirror. They're a little easier to get out of. But like I said, the front ones, there is no actual mirror. So as we go into the front side of treasure here, you can see, if I turn behind me, there is no mirror to get out. I'm pretty much stuck where I am. Now, this is the treasure room. Now, what's going to happen here is when I talk to Jeets, we're going to be involved in a race for the treasure. Now, as the DM is telling me here, the rock looks unstable. The ceiling is going to fall in a lot of trap like rocks and functions. So it is going to take some damage. On Elite, be forewarned, this stuff will kill you with reckless abandon, so you need to be careful. It helps if you have someone with improved evasion lead the way. Just being myself and being a normal, I'm not going to be too afraid of this. You can also kind of body block Jeets, so if you have a couple people kind of get in front of him, it'll slow him down a little bit to give the person running ahead a better chance. Now, if you don't beat him to the chest, you'll end up fighting more monsters at the end of this section. So it's in your best interest to beat him as many times as you can. He's not particularly fast. You can see the rocks falling on my head. None of them are actually landing at this point. There's one. So I get there first, and he'll be very sad. And we'll race to the next one. Now again, this door won't open until he gets back here, and you can body block him again. Now you see here that lever, that turns these vents off. I'm going to jump over them, just because it takes a little time to do that. We'll run to the second chest here. I beat him again. Now behind this is the skeleton key. That's the key for the other side of the tavern. Now, this chest, I usually just let Jeets go. This is kind of a tricky phase here. There's a lot more spikes. You can see that there's a couple air vents. If you look, they're basically blowing you into spikes. Now, on Elite, coupled with the stuff that's going to fall from the ceiling, it's just not worth it to try and beat him. And this next section, as well, can give people a lot of trouble on Elite especially. Because there's all these spikes on the ground. And on Elite, these things pretty much one or two shot kill you. They are pretty beefy. So I'll show you how to navigate this. If you come stand by this kind of weird looking crystal out of the ground, you look across the way, there's a nice little big rock. Pretty much going to aim straight for that and jump up on the rock. And then down. And the reason why we're kind of taking a specific path is these spikes actually stretch out a little farther than they kind of show themselves to be. So we'll step down just to the side of this rock, and again, we're going to kind of try and split right down the center to the other side, and then jump over this rock rather than running around. This section kills a lot of people, and you'll notice that there's a nice little vent here to blow you all the way back through all of those spikes. So you want to turn that one off. And there you go. And you can see why. For me, I just let Jeets go. It's not worth it to try and beat him, because usually what happens is the person trying to do it dies. Almost without fail, trying to get through that section. And it's not that big of a deal. You'll fight a few more monsters here, but it's not many. So here's the boss of this section. And you can see on normal, I got one guy. It's not that big a deal. That one's a fire version, so fire will heal him. Now, this dude here will actually drain your charisma and paralyze you, so be a little wary of that. Once you kill him, Jeets will have nothing keeping him here anymore, and we can tell him that there never was any treasure, and to go away. Once this section is done, the mirror here will appear. Again, there's a bug, so you can't actually see the mirrors. And this will take us back to where we were. Now, because this is done, there is no longer a mirror here, even though you can't see it in general. But you can see on the sides, too, that they're no longer showing little swoopy symbols that show that you can enter there. So let's go back to the back side of the tavern, and we'll get our other chest. Now, this monster is by far a lot easier than the greed monster, which is why if I can only do one, this is the one that I generally do. There's no difference between the chests. They're just extra chests. There's no named loot or anything special. This one is the skeleton in Jeets' closet, literally. It's just a little skeleton. He's pretty easy. He doesn't hit very hard, and he doesn't have as many hit points as the greed monster, so he goes down really nice and fast. Now, of course, these two rooms, the tavern and the treasure, you can do this in the opposite direction. The reason why I like to do it this way is I like to only run through the treasure area once if I possibly can. And in this fashion, by doing going into the tavern first, getting that key and detouring out, and then going to the treasure side, I don't have to run through all that stuff a second time. I can just run through the whole thing just once and get it over with. I don't have to worry about extra falling rocks the second time through or anything like that. But you are, of course, free to switch the two. There is no reason why you can't. It's just a preference of mine that I do it this way. We'll come back into the tavern, and it's still cleared. Everything that we killed is already dead. We can pretty much go right to the end. Using the first key that we found, we can open the door. And in here is going to be a named Dream Scourge. His elemental type is always random, so you can get any one of the four. Just be aware of which one you do get, because you don't want to keep healing him. We'll also get a fair number of mobs. Looks like we've got the acid. We'll accommodate that. On harder difficulties, you won't just get dream crawlers. You also get some of the scourges. You'll get some of the wraith guys, kind of like the boss that we just fought. You can also get what are called dream reavers, which are basically, I mean, they look like reavers. However, they curse as well, so that can be a little problem because it's a healing curse. So it can be pretty nasty when you're fighting all that stuff at once. Now, once he's dead, we're not actually done in here. What needs to happen is we need to kill or destroy all of the, quote, good stuff. That's the ale. That's what's keeping Jeets here. Now, you notice that these are blowing up. On Elite, they do a fair bit of fire damage, just like any other explosion barrel. So you want to be aware of that. Once all the barrels are gone, Jeets will notice that Sig ran out of all the good stuff, and he'll head on home, and that will open the door for us to leave. At this point, we've done two of them. We need to do the spa first. But before we go into the spa, we're going to go to the back side of it. Again, just inching forward so we don't go to the front side accidentally. What you'll find here is an upside-down shrine. And because the door goes away, once you do the spa, the shrine goes away. So I always do the spa last, so you can use this shrine whenever you like. There is a second shrine that will come after you defeat all three of the doors in those areas. But, you know, don't do the spa last. Save yourself some trouble. It saves yourself a shrine. There's no reason to do it earlier. You might find that you need the shrine at some point in time. Let's go into the spa. Now, when we start the spa, what's going to happen is all of these lovely ladies around Jeets are going to become very hostile towards us because we're taking Jeets away from him. This is Jeets' dream. He is in bliss here. And you will notice, you probably actually recognize several of these names, but the one that we're interested in is Salimus. Once Salimus goes down, what happens is they go away and they're replaced by the actual boss of this area. Of course, Salimus is a cleric. You may remember her from Korthos as well. And then we get this guy here. He's a Dream Reaver. As I mentioned before, they do curse. It's a healing curse, so folks need to be aware of that. You might want to bring some curse pots for this fight here. Depending on what difficulty you're running this on, you will get some extra mobs, mostly pretty much everything we've fought before. There's not really a wide variety of monsters in this quest. Again, because I'm doing on normal, you're not going to get as many. Some folks like to jump on the rocks in the middle of the pool. That's certainly an option, although it's not necessarily foolproof. They can still get you there a little bit. We do have to talk to Jeets here, just to tell him that there's no one else here, and to go find Talbrun. Alright, once that's done, we can head back to the center area. You notice now that there is a shrine here. I don't need it at this moment. But if you need a shrine, this is right before the last fight, so it's pretty much use or lose at this point. Now, we're going to talk to Jeets here, and what's going to happen is he's going to run into the main bad guy of the area. We're not actually going to fight him, but he's going to set up the final fight. You do get to fight this guy at the end of the second inspired quarter chain. They're going to chat a little bit. What we're going to do in the meantime is we're going to go searching for bacon. I'm going to jump down underneath, and you see there was a little mirror. I forget my feather fall. And that mirror is actually another doorway. It'll be a little tricky to get into. The angle's kind of weird. You can see that I'm going to miss again. We're kind of aiming, again, the mirrors aren't here, but we're kind of aiming to fall in that, inside of that little border there. It'll take a few times for a new person to get, even an experienced person like myself. Inside here is the Dreamy Bacon. You can get this at any point in time. You don't have to do it at the end like I have done. It really doesn't matter. And it'll show up as like a little ham in your inventory. You can drag that to your hotbar. And what it does is it summons Jeets' inner id. Basically, it's a summon monster spell. Most people like to use it at the end fight, which is where we're going to go right now, which is the mirror that was directly behind us as we zoned it. And you'll notice there's a barrier behind it, preventing you from coming in from behind, unlike the other doors. What you can see before us is a damsel in distress. What's going to happen here is we have to kill the damsel in distress, and Jeets is going to vigorously defend her. So we're actually going to end up fighting Jeets himself here. And there's going to be quite a few versions of Jeets, actually, which is why a lot of people like to wait until now to summon Jeets' inner id. He'll fight with us. Now, what can be helpful here is if you have a sizable party, have a couple people focus on the damsel. Everything goes away once the damsel dies and you talk to Jeets. However, somebody needs to take care of all the other stuff. So you can have someone kite that stuff around. I'm kind of going to do both since I'm a caster, and it's not too much of a trouble to do that with. Archers will find the same ease. Those are good people to have kite all the stuff around. And as the fight progresses, you'll get more and more. I'm going to take this a little slow just to that effect. You can see now that Jeets' ego is joining the fight. And they even cast a little bit So it can be a little tricky here. You get a lot more of these guys on a higher difficulty. And there's his super ego joining the fight. Now, the fight doesn't actually end until you talk to Jeets, at which point the quests will also end. So that's when you're going to want to put your voices on. And it looks like the super ego actually bugged and came when he wasn't supposed to, and so he's still sticking around. Normally all this stuff will go away. At this point, you can loot. There's a chest on the wagon there. And that is the end of the quest. This is where it drops the green discs for the mine center. So if you need those, this is the quest you want to run. And that is I Dream of Jeets. Hope that was helpful for you guys. Have fun running the quest, and thanks for listening. There you go, folks. That's I Dream of Jeets. You may notice that when I'm flying solo, I tend to do walkthroughs these days, and that will probably continue. Most of the discussion topics I have lend themselves more to a discussion, less a me talking kind of thing, whereas walkthroughs are a lot easier to do by myself, and don't have to try and schedule anything crazy like that. Just easier to jump in with a overlevel character and just kind of waltz through them and kind of give folks tips along the way. So hope you guys enjoyed that. What have I been doing? Well, I kind of have mostly abandoned my reincarnation plans because they were just a little too ambitious, and time is just not something I have in overly abundant quantities. But I'm gonna kind of take a more abbreviated approach. I'm still doing some TRing. I am working on getting my main back into a quote finished position, and I'm going to start working on some of my other characters. Mostly my problem is I have too many characters that I like playing, and I don't want to just get caught too much in investing in one at a time with quite that much of a commitment. So I'm gonna kind of go through my characters and get everyone up to 36-point builds, and there's a couple past life feats that make sense to get. But mostly I just found that my characters are pretty good the way that they are, and there's a couple places where I want to tweak some stuff, but I really feel like the time investment was worth the minor improvements, particularly with my play style. So, but I'm working on my current life is a barbarian warfare, just to get my main character up to his kind of quote finished stage. So it's fun playing the lower level quests again. Haven't played those in a while, so I've mostly been doing iconic TRs. So been enjoying that. Post this week, Day News commented on one of our YouTube videos that the flip side to bravery streaks is that certain circumstances it can be beneficial to be overlevel or to have an overlevel player or hireling. Gold Seal can be 2 levels higher than you. You can also use, in this regard, you can use the Panther or the Owlbears if you have those from the expansion packs. What happens is they will disqualify you from getting bravery bonus, but won't actually break the streak. He likes to use this particularly in things like in the flesh, where the end fight is just nasty and elite, but he still wants to complete the chain to get the named item from the end list. And this is all true. Basically what he's doing is to prevent losing a bravery streak when you run a quest at a lower difficulty, because it's a difficult quest that you don't want to run in elite, he overlevels it, so he'll bring in either a player or a hireling that will negate the ability to use bravery streak, but what happens is it doesn't actually break your bravery streak, so you can keep it going. So you can run a quest on normal or hard, so long as you have someone or a hireling in the quest that is 2 or more than 2 levels higher than the quest level itself. He also mentioned that if you have access to iconics, they're great for making a mule, since you can spend an hour rigging through some of the low-level stuff for the Coin Lord's favor, or House K favor, and even use them to try out new classes at the same time, which is a good tip if you need some extra mule space. David wrote that in pen and paper, he recalls one of the basic items for a caster of any kind was a spell component pouch. He's wondered for the first why they are unavailable in DDO. It would be great help to free up some spaces. I believe the issue here is technical limitations. As I mentioned in the last show, Inventory Management, there is a spell component that goes in ingredient bags. The upgraded Kyber Dragon Shard fragments, they're used for the spell Trap the Soul. The issue is if they're in your bag, you can't cast the spell because it doesn't know to look in your bag to find the spell components, which is kind of the big hurdle. If you do spell component pouches, the game has to know to look in them to cast the spells. It's not the same as quivers because quivers, the game doesn't look inside your quiver for arrows. What happens is when you have a quiver in your quiver slot, it pulls the next applicable ammo out of it and puts it into the spot that the game then looks for to shoot from. So that's kind of the reason why they aren't there, is there's a kind of a big technical hurdle. And really, when you start thinking about it, it actually ends up being a little bit of a parody thing too, because wizards and casters tend not to carry around as many weapons and as many item configurations as your other classes, the martial classes. So having some inventory taken up by having spell components kind of balances that out a little bit, although I'm sure some players might disagree with me. Having said that, spell component pouch would be kind of a neat thing, but I don't think it's going to be something we're going to see anytime soon. Beethoven wrote in about our Inferno of the Dam walkthrough. He was playing the quest and he noticed that he has no true seeing or detect secret doors, but if you search for the secret door in the north, this is about he actually gave me the timestamp. It was very nice. It's 29 minutes 45 seconds into the video. You can search the door with very low stats, so there's no really need to worry about having true sight or detect secret doors, which is actually very true. In general, if quest requires you to find a secret door, it's really easy to find. They don't make it so you can't find something that you actually need. You just have to kind of figure out that you need to search in that area. Pretty much any secret door that you have to go through, that you have to access for the quest to actually succeed and advance, the DCs for that is almost nothing at all. So they're very easy to find. And that'll be the end of the show this week. Thanks for everyone for listening. Thanks for the people that are contributing to DDOCast, especially those of you that are writing in, leaving comments. I think it really adds to the show to have other voices, but may not be as big of a part of the show, but you are still a part of the show nonetheless, and an important part of the show. Thanks for everyone who's listening to the show. Thanks to Turbine and Wizards for making some fun D&D games. We enjoy playing those. And thanks to Cyberbears for hosting us on for podcast. Really appreciate that. You can hit us up at DDOcast.com for show notes, our calendar, previous shows, swag, and other fun stuff. If you want to be part of the show or you just want to say hi, you can email us, ddocast@gmail.com, or you can just leave comments, as other folks have done. Although I will warn you, when you leave a comment, sometimes they don't automatically send me an email, and I forget to check them. So that does happen. The best and most reliable way to get a hold of me is to email ddocast@gmail.com. I check my email very religiously, and I hate having unread items. So if you want to get a hold of me fast, that's the way to do it. You can also find us on social media or follow us for the latest cast updates there. Or you can find us in-game via join channel DDOcast, particularly if on Kyber, you can run into myself. Closing tip from the week comes from Zardormo. New players can check out the Relic of the Sovereign Past quest, specifically the Adamantine Ore. You can obtain a very low minimum level heavy fortification item from there. I believe the minimum level for those is 9, if I'm not mistaken. It might be lower than that. You can also get an item with heroism clickies and several weapons with increased base damage and a few other things. That's very true. What you do is you kind of run around in a mine area and you collect the ore, and then at the end there's a guy who you can turn the ore into for that. So very good advice. Thank you, sir. And so with that, until next time, may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chest level appropriate, have fun, and don't forget to gather for boss.